I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Comics Are Awesome, brought to you by Alter Ego Comics. It is New Comic Book Day, and we are here to talk about the books that we enjoyed the most as comic book slingers in little old Lima, Ohio. So, my pick of the week this week is Detective Comics number 966. This is the second part of A Lonely Place of Living, a play on the Lonely Place of Dying storyline from the early 1990s, late 1980s that introduced Tim Drake to the Batman universe. And of course, this focuses on Tim Drake, Robin. He is a prisoner of Mr. Oz, along with his future self, who has taken on the mantle of Batman, and Doomsday, who's on the cover. So there, who knows how many prisoners...
But someone else who's a prisoner. That's not another mantle he's taken on.
Yes, so Doomsday's a prisoner. Tim Drake does not take on the mantle of...
That's a different DC book this week.
Yes. Is it? Yeah. There is so much to love about this book, and you may or may not recall the previous issue was Josh's pick of the week 2 weeks ago. So we are both enjoying the heck out of this book. Tim is trying to escape the prison that Mr. Oz has him in, and he runs into his future self, who is kind of a dick. He's taken being Batman to a new level, which is not a level that most people are happy with. So you get to see kind of a little bit of what this future Tim Drake Batman is dealing with, and then there's a lot of discussion between the two characters about why certain decisions were made, and young Tim can't believe that he would ever evolve into this old grizzled warrior. And in the meantime, they're trying to take on Doomsday and survive in Mr. Oz's prison. So this is just so cool. This is another, I don't want to say a breadcrumb. It's maybe a breadcrumb or a clue. It totally is. So this is part of the tapestry of Doomsday Clock, of the intersection of the Watchmen and the DC universe proper, and characters that we haven't seen thus far in the DC Rebirth universe are mentioned. And so this is one of those points on the map that you want to check out if you're following the bigger picture of Rebirth and Doomsday Clock. Everything about this book was great. The writing, the art, the whole 9 yards.
My pick of the week this week is Detective Comics also. It was awesome. No, it wasn't even close. Like, it was such a great book. Yeah. I literally... No, I don't. I'm not going to talk about it. You've said everything that needed to be said. I'm just... So just so you know,
sometimes you say things better than I do. So
yeah.
Well, let's just say most of the time.
While I was reading, I literally almost called one of my friends who likes Tim Drake. I'm like, you have to read this issue. Because, like, it's so awesome. And if you like kind of Elseworlds and alternate timelines, we get a pretty decent amount of background into this future Tim's timeline and the things that go on, and it's great. It's so good. I want to read it right now.
This whole episode, we will talk about the issue of Detective Comics.
Next up for me this week is, I think, She-Hulk. It's just called Hulk.
Shulk.
Unless, of course, you buy it in graphic novel, and then it is She-Hulk, because Marvel doesn't want you to be able to find out what you're buying, I guess. I don't know. But this is issue number 11. I believe this is the first issue in the Legacy stuff, even though it doesn't have a Legacy banner, because it does... Oh no, the next issue must be the first one.
Legacy, yeah.
Okay. But still written by Mariko Tamaki with artist by Bachan possibly. And every issue of this book has been great. It has been an emotionally grueling look into trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder, and this is a complete 180 tonally, which is exactly what we needed. It's a great moment of comic relief and kind of lighter, just awesome comics. Basically, Jen is going on what appears to be a blind date, and so we see her before the date getting ready with her best friend, Patsy Walker, who is in costume, sitting on her bed while she tries on outfits and stuff, which is so ridiculous. But we get kind of like a classic romance comic voice boxes over it, and then we go back to John Byrne?
Yeah.
Fourth wall breaking She-Hulk, and Dan Slott did it too, I guess, during his run. Where she interacts and contradicts the boxes and kind of blocks them out and stuff, and it's just so fun. There is a lot of heart, and there's a lot of little Easter eggs related to She-Hulk's past, related to Jen's past, and it's just so much fun. A breath of fresh air in a very dark book.
Okay. Speaking of a breath of fresh air, my next pick is Uncanny Avengers number 28. This is the beginning of, this bears the Marvel Legacy banner, I should say. Stars and Garters Part 1, and if you are a Marvel fan, I should say a longtime Marvel fan, you're familiar that "Oh my stars and garters" is a catchphrase uttered by Dr. Hank McCoy, aka the Beast.
Or if you watch the 90s X-Men cartoon, he said it in there repeatedly as well.
Speaking of which, I watched the total sidetrack here. I watched the first episode of The Gifted. I have not gotten to episode 2, which is currently available. But one of the characters' ringtones is the animated X-Men
awesome
theme. So, anyway, so I have not read Uncanny Avengers in a long time. I think the last time I read it was when the Red Skull removed Professor X's brain. It was kind of the relaunch or the launch of the title, bringing Avengers and X-Men together on a unified team. And I fell off of it just because there's so many comics that we read, and I don't have the endurance to stick with things that I'm not really, really enjoying. But I came back to this. I'm reading all the legacy starters, or whatever we want to call them, legacy issues. And one of the big draws for me on this was the cover of Wonder Man and the Beast. So the Wonder Man and the Beast are buddies. You know, there have been miniseries, Wonder Man and the Beast. There have been issues in various series where they get into various hijinks and that sort of thing. And this issue, they are meeting each other for a drink, and they're kind of bringing each other up to speed on what's been going on in their lives. Both of them have and they do a very good job. Jim Zub is the writer on this, by the way, and he does a very good job of kind of, they're really in 3 panels summing up what's been going on with the Beast and Wonder Man over the last 5 years, give or take, maybe even a little longer than that. Actually, it looks like there is a whole page that follows. Oh, no, there's a page for Wonder Man and a page for Beast.
And it's a cool spread.
It's just so good. And then we get the current leader of the Uncanny Avengers, Rogue, having coffee with Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp, who is a former leader of the Avengers. And actually, that is one of my favorite time periods of the Avengers, is when the Wasp was chairwoman. That's when they used to have chairs. And she's sharing her wisdom of what it was like leading that team and what you have to deal with. So there is a lot of talking in this issue, but it's meaningful talking, and to anybody that's a Marvel fan, it will make you feel comfortable. It's a breath of fresh air. It's a return to character interaction. I may have said this last week when we were talking about the Legacy books, but a return to character interaction, heroes being heroes not punching heroes, and of course throw in a sea-level villain that we haven't seen for a while. In this case, it is Whirlwind, and it just makes for a great book. So this is Uncanny Avengers is off to a great start, as are many of the Legacy issues. I thought this was great. I am back on this series just because I love all of these characters, and if they're going to be written in this way and it's going to be a fun book and have meaning, I'm in.
Next up on the DC side, we've got Ragman 1. This is a 6-issue mini written by Guy Fawkes. No, probably Ray Fawkes, I would imagine.
Yep.
With art by Inaki Miranda. And this is... I'm not 100% sure what Ragman's current origin is in the DC universe, but this seemed new to me. We've got a young Rory Regan... Is it Regan or Reagan?
I have no idea. I know squat about Ragman.
Well, we've got a young Rory as an operative somewhere in the Middle East, working for presumably the U.S. government. It would appear. I don't know if these are Marines or if they're in the Army or Rangers or something. They've got a lot of Spec Ops kind of stuff going on. So, but he's a member of a team, and like all military teams in the the Middle East. They delve into ancient mysteries they do not understand. It goes badly for them.
It's the Mummy.
The Mummy, or Metamorpho, or Moon Knight, or 700
the list goes on and
other. But it's cool because they don't tell it chronologically. We get kind of the current stuff with Rory back in Gotham, in kind of a support group for soldiers who've come back. and then we get it intercut as he gets flashes, as he remembers things as they happen. So it's a very interesting way to tell the story. And then we see the fallout and him interacting with people at home. It does not go well for his squad. And of course we see his dad in the junk shop, and he gets the suit of sorrows. That's Batman Azrael's suit thing. The rag suit of anger and stuff.
He gets the suit of rags. Can we move on?
What?
Let's move on.
To the suit of rags?
This is not going well.
It's awesome. If you like Ragman, if you thought the character was interesting on
you one person
Arrow.
out there who likes Ragman. Oh, he's on Arrow?
Last season, 2 seasons ago, for like
Okay.
half the season.
I don't watch Arrow.
Okay, you don't hear about stuff? Yeah, so if you liked his appearances on Arrow, this is a little different tonally, but actually that's not true. It's a little different story-wise, but it's actually similar tonally. He's kind of haunted by the things that have happened to him, and he's not sure of his power. And this version of the suit is a little more, I guess venomy is the word I'm looking for. It kind of talks back to him more than just... Before he could kind of interact with the souls that he had trapped. But this is more like they work together like a team, and there are some familiar faces to him trapped in the suit with him, and it's very cool direction for Ragman, which is a character that does not get enough love, in my estimation. Apparently not in Mark's.
Ragman. Dark Knight's Metal number 3 is out this week, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Continues the tale of the Dark Multiverse. And we get to see some cool stuff. We find out what's been going on with essentially the rest of the Justice League. Over the last couple of issues, Superman and Wonder Woman have been basically trapped in a tower in Metropolis for the last week. And in the meantime, the world has gone to hell. And now they are kind of free, but not so fast. They're suddenly tracked down by the man who laughs, the Batman who laughs, the freaky Clive Barker Batman, only to be rescued by some other fellow JLAers and taken to a place that should probably make Josh smile. And it is the Oblivion Bar, with cameos by many people that kind of hang out in the Oblivion Bar, such as Detective Chimp or his Uncle Bobo.
Nightmaster?
Yes, Nightmaster's there. I'm not as big a fan of Nightmaster. This is just all kinds of fun. So basically...
Wait a sec. He's a hard rock guitarist who goes back in time and gets a magic sword. How could you not be a fan of Nightmaster?
I just don't know that much about Nightmaster. I didn't read whatever book that was.
Shadow Pact?
Shadow Pact. That was Bill Willingham that did that.
Oh, no, you're wrong. It's ridiculous, but it's awesome.
Okay,
we're going to make metal. You got to have
the
Nightmaster.
heroes that are free are kind of regrouping outside of time and space, and that is a great series of pages right there. The people at DC Editorial are having fun with this as well, because Nightwing is still dressed in his what was it called? Gotham City
Resistance.
Gotham City Resistance. Yeah, so the team that was there, it's basically Green Arrow, Nightwing, and Damian Wayne are there, and there's an editorial note in there. It says, "For more on Jon Snow, Nightwing," because he looks like Jon Snow in the Night Watch. Just this is so good, and you know what? It's playing out kind of how I thought it would when we read The Forge.
Mm-hmm.
Go back and watch that episode where I said it has a Blackest Night kind of feel to it, to me. And this definitely is epic in scope. It's affecting the entire DC universe, and it's excellent. It's a very strong story. Everything that we've read so far with the Dark Knights, yes, with the metal tie-in and all that, and the pretty metal covers and stuff, has been top-notch. Capullo knocks it out of the park in the artwork department this week, and it's a very bittersweet, not even bittersweet, it's just sad. There's kind of a sad ending, and who knows where we're going next. One thing to point out is that the next issue of Metal does not come out for 2 months, so this is the kind of the scheduled break, I think, for Capullo to get caught up on some stuff. But we do have Batman Lost, which is the one-shot that Scott Snyder is doing set within the Metal universe that will be out in between. Does that make sense?
Okay.
It's good, as usual.
DC has this thing about trapping people in objects. Like, they have that wall at the end of the universe that people always, the God Wall or whatever, and Superman and Wonder Woman are trapped in a tower. Like, it's not like
on the outside.
Like, they're like kind of like in it though, because
it's like
all...
that ride where you get stuck to the wall when it spins around. I can't go on that anymore after I barfed. No.
All New Wolverine, number 25. This is the first part of Legacy. The storyline is called Orphans of X, and we got X-23 and this guy who's Wolverine's son. I don't know if it's Daken. I don't know if it's Daken. Could be Daken.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm gonna go with Daken.
Daken. That's okay. But we start off with him in the way of all Wolverines. He's in a redneck bar and gets in a fight with people because that's what you do if you're Wolverine or Wolverine related. And then we cut back to Gabby and Laura and Jonathan, their pet Wolverine, as they discuss stuff. They get called out to investigate whatever's going on with Daken. And it leads X-23 back to the facility, is that what it's called? The place where she was made into a killing machine. And at the end, she discovers something. It's awesome. It's great. I think, this is the first one you've read in a while, right? So you could read this without reading this stuff and follow it?
Yeah, and this makes me want to go back and read the 24 issues that came out before this. And maybe even the stuff that was published before that, the X-23 series. Because I've never read that either. But yes. This is accessible. Good job, Marvel, making a Legacy issue accessible to the masses. And if you have no experience with this character outside of seeing the movie Logan, you can probably jump into this as well. Tonally, it's going to be a little bit different, but I think you'll still get the gist of it. Amazing Spider-Man 789, Legacy numbering returns. This is The Fall of Parker, Part 1, written by Dan Slott, artwork by Stuart Immonen. And this, again, follows the formula. Slott's books don't really count as far as getting better than they were because Dan Slott's Amazing Spider-Man has been excellent pretty much from the get-go. But we see a lot of character development and personal interaction between Peter Parker and Bobby Morse, a.k.a. Mockingbird. They are a couple now, and she is awesome for him because she is as snarky as he is. Peter's all bent out of shape because the Daily Bugle is publishing articles and editorials about how he's a menace again. He's a menace, not Spider-Man's a menace, right. But he's a menace. So he busts into the Daily Bugle and has it out with Robbie Robertson, and Robbie kind of makes Peter see the light of day that, like, hey man, your company hurt a lot of people, and you kind of, are a menace. So then we see what's been happening with Peter's supporting cast, including Flash Thompson, who is legless again. Sometimes he is, sometimes he isn't.
He's devenomized, right?
Yeah, I know, he's devenomized. But they're having a birthday party for Flash Eugene Flash Thompson, with all of the familiar faces there. And as I mentioned earlier, we get the injection of a C-level villain. In this issue, it is the Griffin. And it works, but I'm telling you, they are really either just trying to keep copyrights active, or they are saying to these writers, go back and find some villains that we haven't seen since the early 1990s or 1980s and work them into your stories. But as I said, it worked. This is an excellent issue. Spider-Man fans are going to dig it, and it's great. Spider-Man is consistently one of the best books that Marvel publishes, as it should be.
Next up, issue 2 of Scales and Scoundrels, written by Sebastian Gerner with art by Galad. This continues the story of what? God. Everybody has one name this week.
I almost
It's cool.
spit coffee out of my nose. Can I spit out of my nose? I guess I spit out of my mouth. Squirt out of my nose. Spew? Anyway, this is by Galad.
This is by Galad. This continues the story of just kind of humorous, not humorous is strong, it's light fantasy adventure. The characters are really relatable and interesting. We've got kind of like a stereotypical dwarf who's not as stereotypical as you think, and the young prince who wants to go out and prove his worth to be king, and the snarky, possibly a dragon rogue lady, and they interact with things, and they delve, and they seek, and they fight, and just lots and lots of fun. I really enjoy that we're getting to the point where there's enough indie stuff and enough fantasy stuff that you can have kind of niches within fantasy stories. They don't all have to fit kind of the same epic mold, and you can tell smaller, more human stories. And that's what this is.
Next up for me, Gotham City Garage, number 1. This is a new series based on the DC Collectibles statues, which normally means I could care less about it. Creating a series based on a series of statues is not a good idea in my mind. However,
readers of Bombshells disagree.
Yeah, well...
You got Marguerite Bennett, so that helps.
Yeah. Well, anyway. But because it is our job to read every new number one and let you know what we like, I read it. And I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. So this is an Elseworld-style story that is set in the future, kind of, with the main character being Kara Gordon. And I will give you a hint. Gordon is not really her last name. If you know any superhero, actually Kara might be a little more accurate.
I think Kara is probably how it's
who is living in this kind of police state that's run by Lex Luthor and Batman, kind of, sort of. We don't know a whole lot about it, but she keeps dreaming of heroines and Wonder Woman, a Wonder Woman type character, and she comes to realize that there is more to her than she was initially, or than she thinks, and ends up running into the what do we call them? The Gotham City Garage ladies. So that would be Harley Quinn and Big Barda and Catwoman and Silver Banshee and Natasha Irons. This was a lot of fun. It's kind of, Mad Max meets
Easy Rider.
I don't know. I can't compare it to anything other than the best pitch I can give you for this is that it's an Elseworlds type story. So if you like what if stories set within the DC universe, then you want to pick this one up, especially if you like the characters that I mentioned.
If you like the tendency lately, especially in YA fiction, to do dystopia, stuff like Hunger Games, Maze Runner, this is very much in that vein.
Yeah, it was good. In fact, we both liked it.
Yeah, I did.
And if we both like something, odds are you will too.
That's how odds work, right?
Yes.
Next up, I've got two new number ones. First up from Image and Justin Jordan and Nikki Ryan with art by Morgan Beam. We've got The Family Trade, and this is about sort of an alternate history where there's a free-floating island in the middle of the Atlantic that's sort of a free port where people can negotiate on neutral ground, but it's also kind of self-sustaining, has its own military. And it's been around for several hundred years. 1700s, 1600s was the time I was getting from the flashbacks. And it's run by the nobles and the bloodlines, family houses, nobility. But the people who really keep them in check is a family of assassins whose job it is to make sure their power doesn't go too far. And that is the family trait of the title. Our viewpoint character is a young assassin who's trying to... and they're not just assassins, they do other stuff too, but that's the sort of the through line is that when necessary, they'll take people out. And our viewpoint is a young woman who's just kind of on the cusp of getting into field work and becoming part of the family trade, and it's awesome and fun. Next up is God Complex from Image and Top Cow, written by, is that Paul Jenkins? Doug Jenkins? Willie Jenkins? Created by Brian Lai, written by Paul Jenkins. So I'm guessing God Complex is something else then, like a video game or something?
Mm.
Well, I've got a created by and a written by credit. Anyway, with art by Hendry Prosetia. And God Complex is a little wicked and diviny, I guess. It's sort of a police procedural. It starts in the rain with a body and they're investigating, but then we also get this random sort of neuromancer-y William Gibson style cyberpunk element. And these people who can manipulate the cyber world are basically gods. They're referred to by god names like Hermes and Apollo. And they can kind of go into the cyber realm and can talk to stuff. And it's really interesting. I liked it. It was cool, and it was not at all what I was expecting.
Yeah, of the new indie number ones, God Complex was the one that I liked the most, too. I thought it was kind of Matrix-y, kind of Law and Order. It was good. Last up for me is the Oz Effect Part 3. This is Action Comics number 989. I've enjoyed this from the beginning, but it is not... it's not catching on with all of you, and perhaps some of you are just not interested in that this Mr. Oz has been revealed to be Jor-El. Maybe? I'm still holding out hope that it's not actually Jor-El, that it's either Dr. Manhattan or,
Ozymandias.
Ozymandias. Yeah, I'm not entirely Sure, but I'm still enjoying the ride because this version of Superman, married to Lois, has a son named John. I feel like I'm singing a theme song from the 1970s. Is the Superman that I want to read. So there are disciples of Oz that are wreaking havoc across the globe, and Superman has to go off and try and prevent this stuff from happening. In the meantime, Jor-El introduces himself to his daughter-in-law and tries to kidnap his grandson. So he's kind of Ra's al Ghul, is it Ra's? Did we ever decide? Ra's al Ghul-esque in that regard. This is excellent. 3 parts so far. I think it's 5 parts total. And it just dawned on me. While I was reading this, I thought, man, this artwork is really good. This looks very familiar. The artwork is Victor Bogdanovich, who apparently is a student of Greg Capullo. So if you want to see, Greg Capullo did Dark Knight's Metal this week. If you want to see more art that looks like that, pick up this issue of Action Comics. And to go along with that, it does have a lenticular cover. And someone did ask the question last episode or several episodes ago, what's a lenticular cover? It's just the type of cover where if you move it, the stuff on the cover moves. So it's got that kind of, you can't hear that maybe, it sounds like a mouse. That material, it's kind of 3D-esque, but not really. You move it. In fact, here, we'll just talk about this. So the button is out this week, the 4-part series that everyone was crazy about and kind of picked up after Rebirth, where the Flash and Batman are investigating the button and what's going on with that, is available in hardcover right now. With a lenticular cover, which is super cool, and I will point out that the lenticular cover will only be available on the first printing of this, so if that's something that you're interested in, you should seek it out quickly. Oh, that's a cool cover,
that's
too.
A cool undercover.
Yeah, it's got so the lenticular is a dust jacket, and we just opened this up, and there is cool artwork on the actual cover itself. Great series. If you didn't get a chance to pick it up in single issues, get the hardcover. If you did and you just want the hardcover because it's super cool too, you should get it then. But this is the road to Doomsday Clock. So it's Rebirth, the button, in my opinion, the Oz Effect, probably A Lonely Place of Living, and then we're on to the road, on to Doomsday Clock in November. Yeah. Are we going to talk about that or no?
Real quick, Atomic Tomahawk.
It's got to be quick.
Originally appeared in Heavy Metal Magazine, which for the last several months has been edited by Grant Morrison, so you got a lot of comic projects coming out of there from new creators. This one's Donny Cates. It's sort of a weird Conan robot comedy horror apocalypse. If you like Donny Cates' other work, like Baby Teeth and God Country.
God Country. Yes, God Complex was this week.
Yes, that was this week. Knocked on Cates. You might like it. Flip through it. It's kind of a cool, oversized thing, just like Heavy Metal Magazine.
Yep. And we are not crazy that we actually have a little bit of a gnat infestation here, so that's what Josh is swatting at. And
I could be crazy, too.
Every once in a while.
Don't put me in a box.
It's the voices. Mental illness is a serious thing.
Mr. Ass.
Yes. We are out of time. We literally have to go open the store and start slinging comics to our customers, so... Thank you for watching. If you like this week's episode, give it a thumbs up because the more likes it gets, the more people see it, and share it. Share it. I'm asking you to share it. Share it on your social media accounts so that more people can find out which comics are awesome. And don't forget to hang out with us over on our private Facebook page. There will be a link in the show notes below. Thanks for watching. We will see you again real soon.